And then he called you a gay fed. People are mad at him for softballing. I just think he was fundamentally dishonest in a lot of ways.
Him and I had beef. Me and Tucker had been privately and then publicly beefing for years.
Nick Fuentes recently appeared on Louder with Crowder, where Nick sat down with Steven Crowder to discuss his personal political and cultural views. During the conversation, Nick Fuentes explained his growing disillusionment with Donald Trump, the 45th and now 47th President of the United States. Nick also went into more detail about his controversial admiration for former Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, something Nick Fuentes first mentioned during his interview with Tucker Carlson a few weeks ago. But one of the most interesting parts of the discussion came when Fuentes and Crowder talked about Tucker Carlson's behavior toward Nick after their interview, and how different it seemed compared to how warm and friendly Tucker was face-to-face. Let's jump into the first clip, and I'll be back on the other side with my thoughts.
And then he called you a gay fed. No, I'm kidding, but pretty much that's what he did. People are mad at him for softballing. I think he didn't. I think that would be fair to press. I just think he was fundamentally dishonest in a lot of ways, because the second you left, it was a different Tucker again. Is that a fair assessment? I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, 100%. And, I had the same experience with Candace. I went out there because him and I had beef. Me and Tucker had been privately and then publicly beefing for years. And, he called me on the phone over the summer, and we talked a little bit, and then somebody arranged, Alex Jones was a part of it, and somebody else kind of put this together. I went out.
Wait.
Dinner for
Alex
3 hours.
Jones was the mediator?
He was.
You two kiss and make up. All right, come on, this is enough. I mean, I can't imagine him being the middle ground, but okay.
Trump supporters showed up in massive force during the 2024 election, but ever since the public disaster of the so-called Epstein files, Phase 1, about a month after President Trump was sworn in, it truly feels like the coalition we spent years building, especially during last year's election season, is starting to fracture. People are getting lost in the weeds, arguing over fine details instead of staying focused on the big picture, making sure we leave behind a country worth passing on to the next generation. I'm not sure exactly when this beef between Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson first started. Nick says in the clip that they've had both public and private tension for years now. What really kicked off this latest round was when Tucker referred to Nick as some gay kid living in his parents' basement. I'm a fan of both guys, even now. And this right here is the perfect example of the petty infighting that's going to hand power right back to the bureaucracy in the midterms less than a year from now. What makes it so frustrating is that when Tucker and Nick actually sat down together, the conversation was cordial, high energy, and it completely exposed how pointless most of these online beefs are. It showed what happens when we actually stand united against socialists and neocons. Nothing can stop us from reviving this country and taking it to heights it's never seen before. And then Tucker goes and falls right back into the pettiness. Honestly, that stings worse than 90% of what the establishment throws at us. Infighting is the one thing that can truly defeat us. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we need to make nice with people like Mark Levin or Mike Pence. As hypocritical as that might sound, what they want for America isn't what most of us are fighting for when we speak out and cast our votes. I'd bet my last dollar that Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson actually agree on about 95% of how this country should be run and who it should serve. So when Tucker takes the low road and resorts to mainstream media-style character assassination against Nick, it just feels like a massive loss. Do you agree? Let me know in the comments section. I'm always up for debate.
So I go out there, we have dinner, we do the show, and at no point during the show or during the dinner was it really even contentious. Was there really even an explicit disagreement? We had some disagreements, but he kind of tried to avoid those. I don't think that he was very forceful or direct about those. And then I went on my show the next day and said, yeah, it was a great interview. I thought it was really nice, and we're on the same page now. And then every single interview that he has done since then, he doesn't say my name without calling me an anti-Semite. He's going and doing the circuit, and every show that he goes on, he says, Nick is really talented and this and that, but I don't agree with his anti-Semitism and Jew hatred. And I'm like, okay, so where was that during the dinner? Where was that during the show? I didn't hear that during the whole thing. I'm an anti-Semite now, and I wish he would have brought that up during the discussion, because I would have loved to discuss that or to dispute that or whatever, but It's like you said, I got a completely different Tucker after the fact in all these other shows. He's going around and telling everybody, that like it's the making of a murderer.
Right.
Like I could see why people like him, even though he's
like
so
you're
awful.
Like you're the Averys. Yeah, you got them Jews there? Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And Candace will make another show about that like 9 years later. Okay, so that's she did like something about making a murderer. I was like, what is this? Like, this is very late.
One of the biggest criticisms from neocons and leftists after Tucker Carlson's interview with Nick Fuentes was that Tucker never pushed Nick on his past statements. They say he didn't ask the real tough questions. But listening to what Tucker apparently said afterward, where Nick claims Tucker called him an anti-Semite off camera, maybe Tucker might have been better off actually digging into the controversial stuff during the interview instead of keeping everything artificially cordial just to avoid conflict. When you don't give a guest the chance to explain, clarify, or even double down on the positions that got them heat in the first place, you're doing them a disservice. Worse, it ends up making Tucker look inauthentic, like he's playing a character on camera and then saying something completely different once the mics are off. And that sucks, because I actually really like watching Tucker. I've even defended him in private conversations when friends have called him a Fed. Hopefully we can get past all this petty drama, close ranks, and finally gatekeep the psychotic left from ever grabbing power again, so we can actually finish what our founding fathers started almost 250 years ago: funding Israel.